Hey, good evening, C3 parents, and welcome. I am super excited to chat with you today. Sorry about that. Um, wow, what a week. About 2 weeks it's been building up to Christmas and all of that. So, guys, while we're busy sorting out our people coming in and while we're sorting out everything, please to remember to subscribe, hit that like button, help the channel grow, share this with your friends to come and join the conversation. It really is a community for parents to grow and learn. So tonight's topic, Christmas, is it the season of consent? Now, usually Christmas, I know in American side of things, obviously the family gatherings already start with Thanksgiving in November. However, in general, in most other countries, November, December is a time of family time. It's the build up to Christmas, it's the build up to festive season, it's the build up to the time of joy. If you guys have actually followed my Facebook page, you'd seen that I've posted something about Christmas and about gifts for kids. So please take a look at that in 2 weeks' time. This is our second last live for the year. In 2 weeks' time will be our last live for the year, and then I'm going to take a break for 3 weeks in between moving, and then we'll be back in the middle of January. So let us dive into the festive season of consent. Right. So something that we often see come the festive season is throughout the year if we raise our kids with the idea that they need to consent to what happens to their bodies, how they greet people, how they engage with people, how other people engage with them, it feels like that come Christmas time, there's so much societal and familial pressure for our kids to behave in a certain way, for our kids to please the adults around them. And because we want to make it special for our kids, and but there's a little bit of part that's a driving factor for us. We want to experience Christmas through our kids' eyes, and therefore we put so much pressure on our kids to perform at a certain level. Now, unfortunately, our kids, yes, it is the festive season and it's jolly and it's happy and it's family time and there's presents in the future and all of this excitement. But in our heads, we as adults change the rules on our kids during this time period. And it shouldn't be that way. Our kids need to be able to rest in the certainty that the same level of consent and acceptance that I had before Christmas, I will be able to live with during Christmas. We all have family members that insist on a hug or a kiss from our kids. We all have had moments where we had to turn around to that family member or try to handle the situation, looking at our kid being uncomfortable and not feeling comfortable addressing the situation. So, tonight's conversation is just going to be a couple of tips how to survive this Christmas season, keeping consent in the game. And the first thing is instead of putting your child in the position where they are awkwardly trying to navigate acceptance, the need for to be loved, and the enjoyment of the season, and respecting their own boundaries, we need to set them up so that their boundaries are respected from the get go. So the moment an adult approaches them, who is a family member or someone that knows them very well, you as a parent loudly states, "Hey, there is grandma. Would you like to high five, hug, or kiss her hello?" Immediately you're basically telling the kid from your approach that your child has permission to make a choice and you will back them up. If the grandparent then pushes you, "Oh, but can't I get a hug?" If your child said, "No, I rather want to wave or I just want to say hello, I don't want a hug or anything like that." If that kind, if there's that kind of pressure, you can say, "Oh, well, that's what they chose," and just play it off with a whatever kind of attitude. Like, that's what the kid chose. I'm not going to force anything, but without picking a fight. So you're setting your child up that you are having their back. The second thing, should the visit continue on later during the visit and the family member then tries to elicit a hug or physical affection from your kid, you can actually interrupt that by going and saying, "Hey, let's say your kid's name is Johnny. Hey, Johnny, before you go to grandma, could you go do this and that and the next thing for me?" And then Johnny can go and do something else. And when Johnny comes back, you can say, "Would you like to sit next to grandma? Or would you like, grandma wanted to show you something. So would you like to sit next to grandma? Or would you like to sit opposite grandma on this chair?" And give Johnny choices of how close he or she would like to be to this family member. And please understand, I'm just using the term grandma because it's an easy concept to understand. But whether it's a friend or a family member, you get my drift. Then, when it comes to Santa, the Christmas festivals, the lights and things that we go to, um, first of all, know your child's limits. Yes, the lights are beautiful and they're stunning, and I suspect the older we get, we like build an appreciation for it, and then we go through a phase where it's like, oh, it's so lame, like usually our teenage years, and then after that we start building up a new um, appreciation for the beauty that Christmas can be with all the lights and the decorations and things like that. Take that into account with your kids. The flashing lights can be extreme sensory overload, even for a child that's not neurodiverse. So keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on how much your child can tolerate, even if it means that you have to drive 2 nights in a row past a certain area because the lights was too much to take in at one go. When you go to functions or Christmas caroling and you have to pay entrance, your child is not responsible to make sure that you enjoy the evening. So make sure that your child is rested, go after a nap, has been fed, that their needs have been catered to, because then they will last longer at an event like that. But also take into account that when they turn around to you and say, "Okay, I've had enough," or when their behavior starts showing that they've had enough, it's time to call it quits and go home. And it is okay if it's in the middle of your favorite carol. You're allowed to ask your child, "Can you hold out until we're done with this carol? Then we go." That is a way to ask them to consider you as well. But asking them to stay another 20 carols or until the thing is finished isn't always fair, especially if your child is very young. Yeah, I'm not talking about our teenagers. Yes, our teenagers will say, "Oh, it's lame," and they're rolling their eyes. Some of them might not really enjoy it. Um, Take that into account when you're planning your Christmas festivities and when you're planning your Christmas activities. That if you are planning on doing things that your child don't like, add in activities that they will like, so that there is a balance, so that they feel that their needs are also met and it's not all about the parents' enjoyment of Christmas. So, how do I know, especially if I take a child younger than the age of 7 to a festive, how do I plan this? First of all, make sure that they watered and fed, that they also have had a nap and rested. So, if it's a kid that no longer takes naps during the day, rather go earlier than later. If it's a child uh, that might be sensitive to a lot of noise, take noise cancelling earphones with. Take something with that can block out sound, even if your child is not sensitive or not neurodiverse. Because a lot of times, big groups or that amount of noise can be overwhelming. Yes, we are still dealing with COVID, which means the crowds should be less. In most countries, big gatherings are frowned upon, or there's certain rules and regulations in place to keep the crowds smaller. So that counts in the benefit of it all. But take into account that not all kids have the stamina than other kids. Some kids love the chaos, and other kids really just feel overwhelmed with it. And you might sit with both type of kids in your home. So take it into account when you are planning these things. And the last thing, Santa. Before you even get in the queue to take a photo with Santa Claus, make sure with your kid, first of all, if they would want one. Oh, yes, I know we as parents want one. But check with your kid if they actually would like to meet Santa, if they would like to get on their lap. Some of them are like so excited in the queue, and then they get with the reality, like, oh, it's my turn. All of a sudden, they're like, this is a strange person, and it's too much, it's too intimidating, feel overwhelmed, and they want to back out. Let them back out. Please don't nag them. Please don't force them. Having a child sitting on a Santa's lap, looking like awkward in their face already is a dead giveaway. And the photo won't be nice in any way. If your baby is crying while Santa's holding them, it just makes it look like torture. That's really not a good memory. And it's not a way that you want your child to look back at their Christmases, or even a photo that you would like to share with family. It's not funny when a child is in distress. Um, and you might say, oh, yeah, but your sense of humor is not my sense of humor. I understand that and I get that. But it's not funny when a child is in distress. And I don't care if it's, yeah, but it's just for the season. And oh, we all had Santa photos growing up. What's wrong with you? Your child is in distress. Please don't do that. If your child backs out, they back out. When they get to the front of the queue, you can sense that your child is a bit overwhelmed. Give them choices. Would you like to stand next to Santa? Would you like to hold Santa's hand? Would you like to stand in front of the Santa chair? You don't have to get onto Santa's lap. This obsession of putting kids on a strange man's lap. And I'm not saying anything regarding, please, please, please don't take this out of context. I'm not saying Santa's a pervert. But if we teach our children about consent and about body autonomy, and about you don't have to sit, touch, do anything with any other person physically if you don't feel comfortable doing it, and then expecting them to sit on someone, and that's with people they know, and now we expect them to sit on someone's lap that they do not know from a bar of soap. That's conflicting information that we're giving our kids. So have a conversation, say to them, oh, well, there's Santa, would you like to? And if your child says no, then no. The answer is no. They don't have to. Anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox now. Guys, please stay safe. Take care of your families. Enjoy this family season and festive season. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time. I'll see you there. Cheers.